everybody, welcome to Randy Sands and the Mediumship Crew. And tonight we're going to have, I hope, a lot of fun because we're going to do a review of the first major arcana card, which is the Fool. And if we have enough time, we're maybe even going to do the Magician too. So woohoo! It's a fun topic. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a thought exchange type thing. So I'll do a brief overview of my take on it. So let me make this clear. It's my take because other people will have a completely different opinion, and that's great because everybody, when working with tarot, you need to use your own intuition. Don't use the book, use your intuition. And what I like to tell people is, you know, look at the card. I encourage you to look at the colors, look at the details, look at the details that, you know, seem like they're in the background or, you know, that seem mundane because everything makes a difference. And, you know, really look at your card and remember that no matter what meaning you get, it could have a slightly different meaning for you with each reading because not every reading is the same. So with that said, the Fool is governed by air, and it can also have a connection with the number 8, and it's also associated with the astrological planet of Uranus. Okay. When I see the Fool card, the first thing I think of is beginnings and innocence. I'm sorry, let me silence my phone because I think I forgot to do that. Actually, I didn't. That's amazing. The Fool card for me, it's about choices. It's about new beginnings. It's about a fork in the road. And depending on which path you take, it could be amazingly great or not. And my opinion of the Fool card is that when it's a Fool card, it'll have very long-lasting effects. You know, there's other cards that also have to do with choices. Like there's the Two of Swords for sure. There's another one that's not coming to me right this second while I'm trying to think of it. But in my opinion, those are more day-to-day decisions, and where the Fool is more long-lasting. And the Fool can be somebody that is innocent, they can be pure, they can also be very naive. So I like to tell people, just think through things. Do research, what have you, when you make your choices. You know, if the Fool card is in reverse, my take on it is, depending on what the reading's about, if it's a new romance, if it's a new business venture, whatever, probably not the best time. You know, if it's romance, if it's true love, you don't need to rush anything because it's not going anywhere and it gives you time to build a good foundation. If it's about business, probably do your research. And when you think you're done, do more. You know, you don't need to be in a hurry. So with that, what I'm going to do is I am going to open the floor and let everybody exchange their thoughts, ideas, questions, what have you. Everybody's stone cold quiet. Crickets make more noise.
Okay, well, I, since nobody's talking, I feel, So I had gotten this book that you told me about, and I was checking it out today, which I think I'm falling in love with it. The Holistic Tarot. It is ginormous,
Oh.
which I was not aware of so much when I bought it. So, but anyway, the one
I think
thing
it's like 1,100 pages, isn't it?
I don't, might be. It's a lot. It's a lot of pages. No, I don't think, I think it's like 900, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, for the thing that resonated with me when I was looking at this today was one of the things that he said about it was, and I like when they do this kind of stuff, that it has that it's kind of like a Peter Pan mentality. And I am a big Peter Pan fan. I love Peter Pan, and so for me that was like, oh, cool, I can use that because I know what that means because of him being, if I've seen Hook like about a million times. It's weird, but um, but I like when they do that kind of stuff. And then like there was another part where he was saying, um, there was a part about there was some parts too where he referenced I can't find it now. But anyway, I thought the Peter Pan, he made a reference to Robin Hood as well, because of them having a heart of gold and being loyal, very loyal, and that kind of thing. So I thought it was a cool reference.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
It's
I don't normally
interesting
do
because
tarot cards. I usually do oracles, so I just looked it up today and saw that, yeah, it's kind of like the jester that goes in front of the king and, you know, does his little magic and goes on his happy way. But there are times that the king isn't too happy and then the jester suffers. So like you say, I think it's a good time if that card comes up to check and see what all the options are, but still be open-minded. And if you decide to take that path, to do it with without any expectations and let it unfold naturally.
Well, if it's about business, I highly suggest that you read and reread and reread any contracts. That I really suggest, if you can, you have an attorney look them over, because this card a lot of times is about somebody being naive and, tap dancing on the edge of a cliff, so to speak,
Right.
and being carefree and the world is my oyster type thing. Almost like being oblivious to possible consequences, and or just too carefree. And that could be, if you're at that place in the road where it divides and you take the wrong road, the consequences could last decades or even a lifetime.
Right.
And by the way,
It
they
being a
typically,
major,
if
by
it's
it being a major arcana card, right? It
yeah,
is something that lasts longer and has more meaning than the minors,
more of an
because those
impact.
well,
change. Yeah.
also when I see a major as opposed to a minor, and this is a major, is that it's a lot about what is out of your control sometimes. And you have to pay attention to that, it's not always within your control. But also that the whole idea of the cards mean different things at different times, depending on the relationship of where they are in what reading are you doing. Are you doing a past, present, future? Are you doing, a more intricate one? Where that card lies with other cards will change how you interpret them. So to
Right.
just say that it's blank that, it's not always the case. because you can actually, in some of your interpretations, if you look at it, take that card as saying somebody wants something that you have.
Right,
Somebody
right.
is,
In a spread, you definitely have to look at the cards around it.
Right.
Absolutely, because that will have a lot of impact. And it's also, if it's about a person, it's usually somebody that likes to be well put together too. They generally care about their appearance. So, anybody else have anything to say? And welcome, Renee.
Oh, she made it.
Yeah, yeah. She's on mute.
Oh. Unmute yourself.
So,
Sorry, I've been helping her because she doesn't know what she's doing.
no worries. Thank you for helping her.
No problem. Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
beauty.
How are you?
We're
Good.
good.
Glad
We're
to
good.
see you.
So, anybody else have anything with the Fool card?
well, what kind of stones do you think might be related to the card? So you talked about stones earlier and crystals. What would you think would be associated with it?
Oh my, that's a loaded question.
I think a good grounding stone, a
Yes.
tourmaline or something like that would be definitely something that you'd want. A hematite or
Yeah.
What about turquoise?
turquoise is a great healing stone.
Yes.
I would think that. Because I look at that too, because sometimes it plays.
Yeah, it could. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, crystals can play into everything. You know,
Right.
I can't say enough about crystals. But if I was going to put one to that card, I'd really have to think about that because of the card.
Well, an amethyst would be good for a spiritual connection too, so that you could connect with your spirit guides or source and get more insight.
Yeah, because like if we were talking about the magician, I would definitely say something like labradorite, selenite, something like that.
Right.
I'd have to think about that with this card.
Yeah, it was just an idea.
Yeah, and I was just looking at something, and the other card that I was talking about earlier that has to do with choices is the Seven of Cups and the Two of Swords. The Two of Swords is kind of like making the best out of two bad choices. But both of those have to do with choices too, but they're more like mundane. And the Fool can just put their foot in anything because they're just like la-di-da, la-di-da. And
I kind of resemble that remark.
I think we all do at some point.
and oops, I just stepped in poop.
Well, I'm a true Aquarian, so I'm always off in left field somewhere.
Well, that could do it. So reversed, I didn't give you guys the words that I associate with it in reverse, which is vanity, foolishness, indiscretion, and believe it or not, insanity.
Makes sense.
I get blocked beginnings.
That's
Something
good.
gets in the way of a beginning, or are hesitating to take a first step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it depends on what your intuition tells you. And that's why I say, you know, if people are going to work with tarot, put the book away.
Yes.
Because that's somebody else's idea of what that card should mean.
Right.
And when you look at that card, you can get a completely different meaning. And you can read that and you can look at the card and be like, I don't feel it. And the reason why you're not feeling it is because that's not the meaning for you. You know, and anybody can go through a book and memorize 78 cards. Well, times 2 if you're doing, you know, upright and reversed. But anybody can still do that. But then you're just mechanical, right? And if you're psychic or if you're a medium, if you use your intuition, you're going to be a lot more on target.
Absolutely.
I'm glad we agree, girl.
I'm definitely an intuitive reader. I
What's
don't even
that?
think I've looked at the book. I'm definitely an intuitive reader. I probably touched the book a handful of times, if that. I studied the cards and what they meant and what the feelings I got, the pictures, and that's how I went with it.
I like it. I like it. So if nobody has anything else to comment on the Fool card, then I think we should include the Magician.
I agree.
I love the Magician card.
Me too.
And whenever I get a reading done by somebody else, it generally always comes up. And I love it. I mean, I wait to see it. And it's governed by either earth or air. It can be associated with the number 4. And it also, well, number 1 and 4, either one. And it's also associated with the astrological planet of Mercury, which has a lot to do with communication and the mind. For me, when I think of the Magician, the first thing I think about is manifestation, because the Magician is very powerful. And it really is, in my mind, a mastery of self and, you know, mind, body, and spirit. So, and it's, you know, really about manifesting for the best of all humanity. So for me, it's an amazing card. It's, you know, somebody, if it's upright, somebody is really using their powers for good.
And that's what we like.
Right? Right?
That is what we are about.
I'm with you there. I'm with you, girl. Anybody else have anything to add about the Magician?
We always like to have magic in our life. And to know that we can have a hand in our own, creating our own through manifesting.
And you know
which
what?
I do a lot of.
Right? I do too. I don't know if you can see behind me.
A small forest fire going on back there.
Also with the Magician, take note of a couple things. One hand, depending on the deck of cards, one hand is typically pointing up and the other is down. As above, so below.
Yes.
Also, the one pointing up generally has a wand in it. So if it's in reverse, the wand is pointing towards earthly things versus spiritual things.
Mm-hmm.
And also in most decks, you will find an emblem of every suit. You know, like generally he has a table and there will be something, you know, something from each suit on that table.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like there will be a cup, there will be a sword, you know, something from every suit. So for me, that has significance, because to me, that's like we're, you know, it's togetherness. Anyone else?
Well, it's also it embodies that you've mastered everything, and you take full use of everything at your disposal.
Yeah, like you have all the tools, yeah, to do
You
whatever you
have the
want.
tools in your hand, you know how to use them, and you're a master of them.
Okay. All right.
And you're not afraid of them.
Sounds good to me.
Also, when you see that sword or the wand that he has, it can be taken apart, right? Because it's two-sided. And it kind of just reminds you that you can take things apart and put them back together in a different way. And isn't that what we do with tarot? We take things apart and we put them back in a different way when we're interpreting them. So it's just a reminder that that's it. You're able to do that.
I don't think that mine shows the wand being two-sided. I'll have to look.
No, it's not so clear in my,
Yeah, mine looks different because I don't use Rider-Waite.
and I'm a purist with Rider-Waite.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I know you're really big in Rider-Waite. Yeah, I'm like way the other way. I have to have like the real fascinating artwork. But that's the great thing is that, you know, there's something for everybody. You know, and when I see this, I think of somebody that's very disciplined in their spiritual practice, whatever that may be. You know, this is somebody that really works at being the best spiritual being they can be. And, you know, by doing that, that's how we get stronger and stronger in our abilities. Okay, so what about reverse, Colleen?
I always get a sense of deception with reversed, that there's something not right, that there's just something just off, that there's this great potential but not using it.
Okay. What I usually get when I see reverse is that they're not using their abilities in a positive way. In other words, not the best for humanity. However, I have before seen it where they weren't using it in a positive way, but it wasn't, how do I phrase this? It wasn't for bad, it was for good. Like it was to break up blockages or to break up something that wasn't
Okay.
working
Okay.
for the greater of humanity.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me see, I wrote a couple notes here because I didn't want to forget anything.
They say
Um,
perfectionists, people that are perfectionists are always appearing to handle chaotic situations well when
mhm.
it's reversed. So where we might think that it would be not a negative thing being reversed, if it's a person that is well put together as far as morality and spirituality and love and emotions, that they'd be able to handle chaotic situations well. But I think that has to do with the wand pointing toward the earth and being more grounded in it.
And see, when I see the wand towards the earth, the first thing that I pick up, and I'm not saying you're wrong, because you know we all have our own takes, and we need to. But when I see the wand pointing towards the earth, what I get is somebody that's more wrapped up in the material world than in the spiritual world. Somebody that may be all about monetary gain, acquiring material objects, things like that.
More than spiritual. Yes.
That's what I mean. That's just generally what I get, and I'm not
Mhm.
saying that that's the way it is, you know, because we all have to go with our gut and with our intuition.
Like you say, I think it depends on the other cards that it would be played with. right.
Absolutely.
come up
Placements of other cards. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we're just doing an overview of the card. You know,
Right.
we're not really talking
Thinking about
spreads.
Right.
But, you know, the thing about tarot is that when you're looking at a spread, it's almost like a story. And where a lot of beginners go wrong is they look at a card and then a card and then
right
a
instead of
card.
looking at all of them.
Right. How many major arcana are in there? How many court cards are in there? All that, you know, has meaning. How many ones, how many twos, how many threes, you know, all that has meaning. So you have to really look at the cards around it. But you also at the same time have to have an idea of what a card means to you too. Did I explain that right? That make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Or like you say, using your intuition, what it means at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And it's good to have a foundation of what that card means to you.
Right.
And then, yes, you know, be open that when you're in the middle of a spread, that it could have a different meaning. And if it comes up, you know, and you feel that the meaning you generally associate isn't working for that, then be open to go with what's coming to you at that moment.
Right.
You know, don't be rigid and unbending.
Closed-minded. Right.
Yeah, because in tarot you really can't be.
No.
You really can't be. And you know, I like to say that, you know, the major arcana is like the soup and the minor arcana is like the seasoning and what goes into the soup to flavor it.
That's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Colleen, you have anything?
Well, I think it's one of those cards that reminds you that you have the power, and it makes you think, do you know how to use that power? You know, I come up with that Spider-Man phrase with great responsibility, you know.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Thank you. And you have to be responsible with it. And sometimes you can kind of look at the cards and, you know, a card will come up and you'll go, well, what does this magician mean? Well, it could just mean a scientist, you know, representing a scientist in something. So, you know, as you were saying, be open to the strange things. Yeah, that it doesn't always have to be exactly what's in the spread. It could be some aspect to the story you're building.
Yep.
How many of you use like connection with spirit while you're doing the readings to get that intuition of to what that card means right now?
Always.
I do.
I do.
Always. Always.
Yeah, for most of us that, well, for most of us that are psychic or mediums or both, it's just another tool. You know, it's something that, for me, it's almost like scrying. You know, like somebody
Right.
has a crystal ball and they look in it. Well, the ball's not telling them anything. They're just focusing on something so that they're open.
Spirit, right.
It gives them something to focus on and lose themselves in so that they're open. And, you know, everything starts coming. For me, and we'll give everybody an opportunity to speak on this. For me personally, the cards just give me something to look at that may bring up something more or another nuance that, you know, I wasn't necessarily picking up through mediumship.
Right.
Will it kind of like spring off the card for you? That
Right.
Okay.
That's a really good way of putting it. Thank you. Anyone else? I can't believe we've got a room with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, and there's not many opinions. How does that happen?
Well, it's
Agreed.
funny because I always go to spirit first, right? And like you say, use the tools second. But
Mhm.
I've always gone to spirit first for 40 some years. And just in the last 5 or 6 years have I been using tools, right? So what's amazing is that when you use tools, all of a sudden you're saying, oh my God, this is so easy, right? Compared to connecting with spirit and getting the symbols and the signs and figuring all this stuff out, right?
Yeah.
It when you have a tool, it's like, boom, it's right there in front of your face right now. I
All
mean,
ties it in. Yes.
instantaneous, you're not asking questions, you're not, going in deeper and deeper with conversation with spirit. It's right there in front of you, something that you can visually see.
Right.
And do
Right.
you think spirit like guides you towards what you're seeing? Is that what?
Definitely.
It-
Definitely.
Okay, like it helps as a conduit kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
But it's instantaneous. I mean,
Oh,
it's like boom.
Instant message. Yes.
Right, right.
And I'll tell you what I do, because I do something a little different from most people.
Okay.
I had taken a piece of paper and I took, Jack, how many decks do you think are on there? 5 or 6?
Yeah, 6 or so, I think it was. It might
And-
have been.
I took like 6 different decks. And so the Fool card from all 6 decks, I glued onto it
Okay.
and I put it in a clear sheet. So I have one deck that they'll touch and they'll shuffle and they'll cut and, they'll pull their cards. And what I like to do is I like to pull out that sheet that's for each card they pulled and lay the sheets out. Why do I do that? Each
Get
card
more
is different.
information. Yep.
Yes.
Each card is different. And what Spirit's going to do is it's going to draw my attention to that particular card from whatever deck it is
Right.
that is going to show me. It's going to be boom.
Right to the
Yeah.
card.
Right.
Because
Yes.
for me, each one of those cards is something different.
That's a great way to do it.
so you buy 2 decks of everything?
No. I buy, I
All different
find
decks.
decks that where the artwork resonates with me. And I'll buy one of each one. One deck, I will buy an extra, whatever my favorite one is. Or what I recently started doing, because Jack found a deck that I liked, which is the Grand Lux. That's not on my sheets. So I'll use the Grand Lux when I do a reading.
Right.
And then I'll pull out my sheets. So now I've got 7 different decks.
Right.
Wow.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yes.
And a lot of people are like, a lot of people will poo-poo it. And I get it. It's not for them. It works for me and it works really well.
It would be kind of cool because you'd have all those different types of cards, and then you have the one that you're using with the person you're reading for.
Mm-hmm.
And wherever
Which is just a
Spirit's
different one.
channeling her, she's drawn.
Yeah. Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because you
Yeah,
would
so
you'd have, that's like 7 tools or whatever many you have, right?
So I think it's blue paper, like a good card stock. And I just glued them all on and I slid it in a divider or, one of those clear plastic protector covers. And I've got a binder. So like I said, I'll use the Grand Lux. We'll shuffle, we'll, set our intention, we'll cut the deck, we'll pick. And what I'll do is then I'll go into the binder and I'll pull out all the cards they picked. I'll pull out the sheets. And I'll spread it out and I'll put the other card that they pulled next to it so that it still has their energy.
Right.
Okay.
And then I can look at all of it and oversee it all.
That's great.
Very cool.
And Spirit will say, boom, go to
Right.
Morgan and Greer on this sheet. Boom, go
Right.
to, I think it's called Apocalypsis on this sheet. Boom, go to Animal Tarot on this sheet. Boom,
Right.
go over here on this sheet. And it just, really hones in for me. You know, but everybody's got their own way of working, and that's the beauty of it. You know, Tarot has a solid tradition and a solid structure, but you can meld that into what works for you.
Right.
And that is
And
the beauty of it.
yes, and I encourage people to do that. I don't have anything against oracle cards. I truly don't. For
Right.
me personally, I prefer the tarot because I like to have the major arcana. I like to have the minor arcana. I like to have the 4 suits, you know, one represents spring, one represents summer, one represents fall, one represents winter, you know, and then they represent different things, you know, cups is emotions. You've got each suit represents something different. So for me personally, tarot just gives me far more information. You know, now at the same point in time, if you're psychic or a medium and you're using oracle, you should be able to glean information too.
Yes.
You know, it just depends on what your preference is. You know, and there's some really good oracle cards out there that I'd like to mention too. As a matter of fact, do I have it right here? Oh, it's down there, but I'm not going to bend down and grab it. There's one called Angel Answers, which is really out of all my decks, you know, because these are all decks as well. And I wish I could tell you what this deck, I don't remember what this deck is, but oh, how funny. And look at the box that I pulled. How funny is
It
that?
makes an appearance.
Right? But out of all of my decks, I only have one oracle, and it's Angel Answers. And what I like about that particular one is it has yes, no, and maybe.
Right.
It's the only oracle deck I've seen that has yes, no, and maybe. And it also has not at this time. You know, it's got a few cards that you don't normally see. But, you know, like I said, I encourage everybody to do what works for them. And I'm going to open this up for one last round before we close it up. Anybody else have anything? Wow. Wow,
We've been laboring all day.
I am shocked. So Colleen, wave your hand. Colleen is wanting to do a tarot practice room on Zoom. So do you want to talk about when you're looking at doing that?
You and I talked about it, and I've been kind of focused with family stuff this weekend, so I haven't really come up with the concept. But I thought that maybe once a week, get a bunch of people together and then break off into breakout rooms and just start practicing with tarot and just playing with it and seeing what we get and how we read and interpret things and maybe coming up with some generic readings that we all are working on to see what we come up with and see how different we are, but yet how similar we are in the process.
And when are you looking at doing this?
In the next couple weeks, starting it up.
Okay, and what kind of cost factor are you looking at?
That I hadn't decided yet because you and I hadn't had an in-depth conversation. So I really haven't decided what it is going to be and all of the details. But the idea is that to do something like this would be really wonderful for people to come in and just have the opportunity to kind of practice with each other and discuss why people see things certain ways and kind of help each other along this journey of interpreting the cards.
So if somebody is interested and they want to reach you, how do they reach you?
They can reach me through the
Talk to Colleen?
my website, talkwithcolleen.com.
Okay, there you have it, guys. So if you want to take part in practice rooms, you can reach out to Colleen for more information as she's honing it down. It'll probably be a couple weeks from now. It's September 7th, 2020. And you can reach out to her and get more information. Woohoo!
Woo.
And I will be starting up my mediumship practice room again, where mediums that want to practice can come in, and I can bring in sitters from all over the world. And that should be starting up probably in 2 to 4 weeks. I would encourage you to keep an eye. And the cost factor on that, it's nothing really. It's just $10. It just helps pay for the platform and what have you.
Fair.
The whole goal is really just to get people out there doing rapid fire readings, hopefully, 6, 8 readings in a very short period of time, so that you really hone your skills.
Okay.
All right. And with that, I think that we can close. Also, if you got any value from this, please, subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified of new content. We will be doing this the first Monday of every month. The third Monday of every month, we do an in-depth review of a spiritual pioneer that kind of opened the doors and led the way for us to do and be who we are.
Those are very cool. Tonight is Lorraine Warren's documentary on the Travel Channel too.
Oh, I want to watch that.
Yes,
What time?
it starts at 9 o'clock.
Oh.
I've got it on set to record.
Okay, with that, I think we're gonna close because it's like a couple minutes to 9.
But
It was
talking,
wonderful, ladies.
but talking about the historians of people that have led the way, I thought that was the perfect intro for that, right?
It surely was.
And then Tuesdays and Wednesdays are Tuesdays and Wednesdays. The second and fourth Monday of every month are more open. So we're going to be doing things. We're going to be talking about manifestation. We're going to be talking about, oh my goodness, I have such a list here of things that have just come up. Where did my, I don't even know. Oh, here, I think it's here. Yes. So we're going to have a meeting where we discuss the Blue Island, the book, what happens when you die, where you go, what happens when you get there. We're going to talk about how many questions should a medium ask a sitter.
That's a great question.
And we're going to talk about sitters. How should they conduct themselves when they're getting a reading? Because there's some sitters that I've experienced where I start to open my mouth to give information and they just take over, and like, I can't even get a word in edgewise. Please don't feed the medium. Don't do that.
Right.
Pretend you're at the zoo.
Right.
Don't feed the animals. Don't feed the mediums.
Exactly.
Exactly. We give the
You
information.
got to give them instructions when you start, right?
Oh, sometimes it doesn't matter.
A good head nod is a good. If you understand what I'm saying, please just nod your
Nod.
head.
Yes.
Don't open your
yes,
mouth.
Exactly.
No,
Let
don't
me
open your mouth.
Let me do my job. If you want me to be a professional listener, I can do that.
Yeah.
And in the duct tape when they walk in. And that's
But
from
I-
personal experience. People give it to me all the time.
But I don't think anybody that's paying us wants us to be a professional, listener.
Right.
So, but I mean, we can, like I said,
It's your time.
yeah, but we want to be ethical, and we don't want to take,
you
we don't
wanna
want
do
to
it,
receive
yeah.
pay when we're not doing our job.
Right.
It's all about doing the right thing in my mind. So with that said, I hate to serve y'all dinner and run, but I want to watch that program.
I know.
Tammy,
I think we all do.
what channel was it again?
The Travel Channel.
Okay, so now that
Whatever
y'all
that
have had dinner, I'm pushing y'all out the door.
All right.
Thank
I
you,
hear
Randy.
ya.
And thank you,
It was
everybody.
very
Y'all
nice.
are welcome.
Bye,
I hope
baby.
everybody has an amazing night.
Bye.
You
Thank
too.
you.